I want to talk about, some Facebook do's and don'ts when it comes to etiquette, whether if it's at home or at work. I'm going to go off with the don'ts. I made it a top 10 list, but first thing you don't want to do is you want to not be sure that you're not, you know, spacing out your status updates. What I mean by that is constant feedback of what you're doing, like every 10 minutes you're doing something. Quite honestly, it's a lot of work, and you don't really want to tell people or annoy people about what you're doing every 5 minutes. For example, where someone's making soup, someone's eating their soup, someone doesn't like their soup, someone's throwing away their soup. Kind of there, you want to keep it a break or whatnot. Another Facebook don't that I don't like is you want to avoid liking your status updates and pictures. If you post any pictures and you post a status update, don't like it because it sounds very narcissistic. Next, I think is a very common one, something that I usually do quite a bit, is inviting people to your Mafia, Farmville, or Vampire Wars, all these application games. You want to really avoid that if you could, because it's really not fun to get all those requests and then have it log your news feed. It's really annoying. Even though you can hide it, you know that that's what you're going to get. Number 7, another thing is that try not to be a fan of derogatory things, okay? There's certain things that, in the privacy of your own home, you probably want to leave there. You don't want to bring it onto the web. Although it's the internet, you want to avoid that at all costs. Other thing that I find annoying is don't send a relationship request or a married request to another Facebook user that you don't really know. It's really creepy simply because you just don't want to do that. Another thing that has become very common is perving on Facebook, being perverted. Facebook is a classy site. At least that's what I like it to be every time I go there. And every time I hear from my own friends that there are people that out there that being very perverted and things. That's stuff for MySpace, but not for Facebook. And then in addition, if you work and you're looking at your Facebook, you don't want to show how perverted you are, or you don't want certain people looking at your page. Another thing that is pretty much I would call rubbing salt in the wound is if you're actually friends with an ex-boyfriend or girlfriend, and you send them a vampire bite or some sort of little thing, you probably want to avoid that simply because that's not a very good situation. In fact, you probably want to avoid that altogether. Another funny thing that I would never do on Facebook is create a fan page of myself. Okay, I have about 2,400 friends, okay? But not everyone has as many friends as I do. I had to learn from my mistakes. But quite frankly, don't create a fan page of yourself because you're just not that important. Another thing that's also really annoying is poking. It's not a very likable function on Facebook. You don't want to poke people on Facebook because quite frankly, it doesn't really show you what you can or can't do. But if in the real world you were being poked, it probably wouldn't be as fun. Now here's some things that to help you, conquer some etiquette issues as well. Number 1, try to make your profile confidential. You don't really want it public, okay? A big reason for that is you want to avoid, any stalkers or people looking at your pictures and photos and all that other stuff. When it comes to picture posting, you want to avoid certain things like alcohol in your pictures or major partying, because if, for example, something should happen, like you get a DUI, that's one of the things the courts are going to look at. They're using more and more often is they're using social network sites to, catch people per se. So, they say that, hey, this person's never drank, but, the courts don't see it that way. When they see pictures, it makes it really difficult. Another reason why you want to prevent improper etiquette, and something you should avoid, is you want to avoid blogging about work and your boss. People have been let go because of blogging negatively or posting something negative about their work or boss. I would highly avoid that if at all possible. Keep work out of it. It may be okay to talk about where you work, but don't talk about how busy you are or how much you don't like or dislike your job, because it can be taken the wrong way. Plus, I'm pretty sure for some of you, you've already friended people from work, and that's the last thing they want to see, especially if you're in a position of responsibility. Another reason for prevention or proper etiquette would be behave online as you would offline. Now, that might be a difficult thing to do, because some of us may be really bad offline, but you want to be tact, use professionalism and respect to your other peers, especially in a work environment, okay? Because if you behave differently online than you do offline, there's going to be a misperception, but at the same time, it is the internet. Another thing about Facebook profiles, because of the continued stalking and the perverts that are out there on Facebook, is try, if you do have to make friends, do share, but don't overshare. TMI, too much information, try not to avoid that. And finally, for some of us, if there are people that are really out of line, it is absolutely okay to defriend someone. Quite frankly, it might be recommended if they've really getting out of line. This is just a small sample of the Facebook etiquettes of the good and bad that you can look into, whether at home or at work. But in order for you to be successful, I mean, whether if it's socially or professionally, you want to make sure that you keep it within bounds, and you got to set the example yourself. Okay, I'm signing off.